Welcome back to Figuring It Out. I'm Rachel Lee, and today we're going to talk about something that sticks with you long after it's said. Words. You know that old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Yeah, complete bullshit. And honestly, I've tried to think of something clever to rhyme with bullshit, but I couldn't, so it's just going to come out the way it did. Because let's be real, words can absolutely hurt you. They can shape you. They can become the soundtrack that plays in your head for years, and sometimes even decades. When I was 12, something happened to me. Something that no kid should ever have to experience. And in the middle of that pain, when I needed comfort, what I got instead was a sentence that stuck with me for most of my life. My mom, who I loved deeply, looked at me and said, "Who's going to want you now?" Now, I don't believe she said it to destroy me, but that one sentence, it did more damage than she could have ever imagined. Because what I heard was, you're broken, you're unwanted, you're unworthy. And when that becomes your internal soundtrack, you start to believe it. For years, I carried that phrase like a secret tattoo no one could see, etched underneath my skin, right next to the part of me that still wanted to be chosen. It shaped how I saw myself, how I dated, and how I thought about love. Because when you grow up thinking, if the people who are supposed to love me the most didn't choose me, why would anyone else? It messes with you. If I didn't believe anyone could want me, how could I possibly want myself? And that sentence, that one sentence, followed me into adulthood. It didn't scream anymore, but it whispered. It whispered when I was scared to speak up. It whispered when I over-apologized. It whispered when I stayed quiet instead of setting a boundary. And even when life looked fine on the outside, I was still fighting that echo on the inside. Here's the thing. We all have our version of that sentence. Something someone said that made us question our worth. Maybe yours came from a parent, a teacher, a partner, or even yourself. And sometimes the person who said it didn't even mean to cause the harm, but the wound still formed. Fast forward to becoming a mom, and that sentence suddenly felt like this giant mirror. Because when you've been cut by words, you become hyper aware of your own. You start walking around thinking, I don't ever want my kids to feel what I felt. And so you overthink it. You censor yourself. You lock up the things that maybe need to be said because you're terrified of saying them wrong. And that was me. There were so many things I didn't say to my boys because I didn't trust my delivery. I didn't want it to hurt them, even accidentally. So instead of finding balance, I went quiet. And now looking back, I realize there's an art to communication, right? It's not silence and it's not sharpness. It's somewhere in between. We'll call it the pause of perspective, right? That moment before you react, before you lash out, before you let old patterns run the show. It's where you take a breath and remember, my words matter. And if I love this person, I need to speak to them like I love them, not like they're just anyone off the street. I wish I'd known that sooner, how to merge compassion with honesty. But as the saying goes, when you know better, you do better, right? Here's what I've learned. Words carry power, but so does silence. The trick is learning when to use each one wisely. I've had to unlearn reacting out of pain and relearn how to respond from love to myself and to others. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not pretending those old words never existed, but choosing new ones now. Over the years, I've had to rewrite my own internal language to replace "who's going to want you now" with "I want me now." And that's been the work. Learning to accept even the parts of me I wasn't ready to say out loud. The messy parts, the hidden ones, the versions of me that I used to judge. Self-acceptance isn't about liking every part of yourself. It's about saying even the parts that aren't healed yet deserve love too. And maybe that's the real transformation. When you stop needing someone else to tell you you're enough because you start telling yourself. I've realized that everything I have ever wanted from someone else, love, validation, approval, has to start with me. If I want acceptance, I have to give it to myself first. If I want peace, I have to create it within me. If I want someone to show up for me, I have to start by showing up for me. That's not self-help, that's self-respect. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, what's a sentence you've been carrying? Who said it? And what did it make you believe about yourself? Because here's the truth. You have the power to change the story those words wrote. You can speak differently to yourself now. You can choose new language, new truths, and new definitions of who you are. The old words might have hurt, but they don't get to have the last say. Next week, we're talking about choosing yourself. What that actually means, what it looks like, and why it's not selfish to finally put yourself first. So take care of yourself this week. Speak kindly to yourself. And remember, the words you say to yourself are the ones that matter most. Share this episode with someone you think might need to hear it. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe so you can never miss an episode. Until next week, take care of yourself.